Remember to like, subscribe, share, and consider donating, please, to keep this channel going. Links are below. It really does make a difference. Thank you. If you have any true scary stories you'd like to submit, the email is in the description below. It all began on a chilly November night in 1966. 5 grave diggers in Clendenin, West Virginia were going about their somber work when a strange shadow passed overhead. One of the men looked up and froze. "Holy hell," he muttered, his shovel slipping from his grasp. The others followed his gaze, their jaws dropping in unison. Soaring above them, without swatting its wings, was a massive man-like figure. Its wingspan stretched an impossible 10 feet, and its eyes glowed an unnatural red. The creature banked sharply, circling the graveyard before disappearing into the tree line. Did you all see that?" one of the grave diggers stammered. The others nodded silently, their faces pale with shock. This encounter marked the birth of a legend that would soon grip the entire region in fear. Word spread fast. Mary Heyer, a local journalist, found herself flooded with reports of the strange sighting. At first, she dismissed them as tall tales. But as more witnesses came forward, her skepticism gave way to intrigue. What did these grave diggers see that night? Little did Mary know, this was just the beginning. A terrifying mystery was about to unfold in Point Pleasant, one that would change the town forever. As reports of the winged creature multiplied, a sense of unease settled over Point Pleasant like a thick fog. The once quiet town buzzed with whispers and worried glances. Every shadow, every rustle in the trees set nerves on edge, but nothing could prepare the residents for what was about to happen on that fateful night of November 15th, 1966. Roger and Linda Scarberry, along with their friends Steve and Mary Mallet, were out for a late-night drive near the old T&T area. The abandoned World War II munitions site was a popular spot for local teens. Its dark, secluded roads perfect for cruising and stargazing. As their car rounded a bend, the headlights illuminated something that made their blood run cold. There in the middle of the road stood a creature unlike anything they'd ever seen. It was massive, standing nearly 7 feet tall, with a wingspan that seemed to stretch from one side of the road to the other. But it was the eyes that truly terrified them, glowing red orbs the size of bicycle reflectors that seemed to pierce right through them. Roger, his voice shaking, recalled the moment. We all saw it at the same time. We just looked at each other and asked, Do you see what I see?" The creature's human-like shape and enormous wings were unsettling enough, but when it suddenly took flight, things got even stranger. As they sped away in terror, the being kept pace with their car, flying alongside them at speeds over 100 miles an hour. Linda, her face pale with fear, described the unnatural sound it made. It was like a high-pitched squeal, like a giant mouse. The group raced to the Mason County Sheriff's Office, their minds reeling from what they'd just experienced. Deputy Millard Telsteed listened to their story with a growing concern. He knew these young people well. They weren't the type to make up wild tales. As he took their statement, he couldn't shake the feeling that something truly extraordinary had happened out there in the darkness. The next day, Mary Heyer's phone wouldn't stop ringing. As she jotted down account after account, a pattern began to emerge. The descriptions were eerily similar. A large winged creature with glowing red eyes. Witnesses from all walks of life, from farmers to school teachers, swore that they'd seen the same thing. Mary found herself drawn deeper into the mystery. She spent long nights interviewing witnesses, poring over their testimonies, trying to make sense of it all. The more she learned, the more questions she had. How could so many people be seeing the same impossible creature? As the days turned into weeks, the sightings continued. The local press dubbed the creature Mothman, inspired by the popular Batman TV series. The name stuck, and soon Mothman fever gripped the town. Some embraced the excitement, while others locked their doors and prayed for the madness to end. Mary Hyre struggled to maintain her journalistic objectivity. The fear in the witnesses' eyes, the tremor in their voices, it was all too real to dismiss. Yet the rational part of her mind rebelled against the idea of a giant flying humanoid terrorizing her town. She found herself caught between skepticism and the growing mountain of evidence. One night, as she sat back at her desk, surrounded by witness statements and sketches, Mary had a chilling realization. She counted the reports, double-checked her figures, and sat back in her chair, stunned. Over 100 people had now reported seeing the Mothman. This was no mass hysteria or elaborate hoax. Something truly extraordinary was happening in Point Pleasant. As the Mothman sightings gripped Point Pleasant, another bizarre phenomena was unfolding in the skies above. Residents reported strange lights and unexplained aerial phenomena, adding a new layer of mystery to the already tense atmosphere. One crisp autumn evening, local farmer Jim Thompson stood on his porch, watching the stars. Suddenly, a bright light caught his eye. It wasn't like any aircraft he'd ever seen. The object moved erratically, making impossible turns and changes in speeds. Jim rubbed his eyes in disbelief, but when he looked again, the light was gone. After the sighting, Jim suffered from severe conjunctivitis, an eye disease, leaving him almost permanently blind. Similar reports flooded Mary Hyre's desk. People from all walks of life described seeing unidentified flying objects. Some were silent, gliding effortlessly through the nighttime sky. Others pulsed with an eerie glow, hovering over fields and forests before vanishing in the blink of an eye. But it was the encounter of Woodrow Derenberger that truly sent shockwaves through the community. On a lonely stretch of road, Derenberger's truck was stopped by a strange craft. A being emerged, introducing himself telepathically as Indrid Cold. Derenberger, visibly shaken, recounted the experience to Mary Hyre. "It was like nothing I've ever seen before," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This man or being called himself Indrid Cold. He spoke to me without moving his lips, right inside my head." The description of Cold was unsettling. He appeared human, but with an odd plastic complexion and an unnaturally wide grin. He claimed to be from another world, hinting at knowledge of future events and expressing curiosity about human emotions. Derenberger was never the same and suffered from severe migraines and depression, so much so that his wife left him. As Mary dug deeper into these UFO reports, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were somehow connected to the Mothman sightings. Both phenomena seemed to defy explanation, and both had begun around the same time. Was it mere coincidence, or was there a deeper, more terrifying truth lurking beneath the surface? Her investigations took an even darker turn when witnesses began reporting encounters with mysterious men in black suits. These figures would appear seemingly out of nowhere, questioning people about their UFO and Mothman experiences. These so-called men in black, dressed in dark suits and driving black cars, began appearing in Point Pleasant and surrounding areas. Their presence added a new layer of mystery and fear to the unfolding events. One evening, as Mary was working late at her office, two strange men entered. They were unnaturally pale and thin, with piercing eyes that seemed to bore into her soul. "We understand you've been writing about one of the recent occurrences," one of the men said, his voice oddly emotionless. "We strongly suggest you consider discontinuing your investigations." Higher, though unnerved, stood her ground. "I'm a journalist," she replied. "It's my job to report the truth." The second man leaned in close, his breath ice cold on her cheek. "There are truths, Miss Higher, that are not meant for the public. You know this. For your own safety and the safety for those you care about, we advise you to consider this." He drew back, displaying an awkwardly wide smile, causing a sense of primal fear to fill Mary's soul. Then, without another word, they both turned and walked out of the office, disappearing around a corner. When Mary rushed out to follow, they were nowhere to be seen, leaving her seriously shaken and confused, but still more determined than ever to uncover the truth. She wasn't alone in her experiences. Other witnesses and researchers reported similar encounters with these mysterious men, who seemed intent on suppressing information about the Mothman and UFO sightings. These encounters only fueled Mary's determination to uncover the truth. As she pieced together the accounts of UFO sightings, Mothman encounters, and the appearances of men in black, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. The events seemed to be escalating, building towards something strange. But what? Mary couldn't shake the feeling that all these phenomena were pieces of a larger puzzle. The Mothman, with its glowing red eyes and prophetic appearances, the UFOs, defying the laws of physics as they danced across the sky. And now these mysterious men, trying to silence witnesses and investigators alike. What if they were all connected? What if the Mothman wasn't just a creature, but a catalyst for something far more dark and potentially dangerous? The implications were disturbing, and Mary found herself standing on the precipice of a truth that threatened to shatter her understanding of reality itself. As the Mothman's sightings continued, a sense of dread settled over Point Pleasant, like a heavy fog. The once quiet town buzzed with nervous energy. Residents whispered about strange occurrences in their own homes that went beyond the winged creatures' appearances. Objects moved on their own. Lights flicked on and off without explanation. Some even reported hearing unexplained voices calling their names from empty rooms. Mary Hyer's phone rang constantly. Each call brought a new, unsettling report. It was like the whole town was haunted, she later wrote in her own journal. People were scared to be alone in their own homes. One night, Lawrence Gray, a local factory worker, had an encounter that added a spiritual dimension to the growing mystery. He got home from his late shift when he saw a dark-winged creature standing in the corner of his bedroom. Gray, a devout man, felt an overwhelming sense of evil. Without thinking, he began reciting Bible verses. "I don't know what came over me," Gray told Mary during an interview, "but as I spoke the words in the name of Christ, the creature seemed to shrink away. It was like the scripture itself was driving it back. The being vanished, leaving Gray shaken but unharmed." Mary found herself piecing together a disturbing pattern. The Mothman sightings often preceded tragedies or accidents. A family reported seeing the creature the night before their barn burned down. A group of teens glimpsed it near the river, where days later a child would drown. What if this is all leading up to something even darker? Mary wondered aloud during a late-night call with her editor. But leading up to what? The answer came on a cold December day in 1967. Mary was working late at her desk when she heard a commotion outside. People were running down the street, their faces pale with shock. she rushed out to find a scene of chaos. The Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio had collapsed during rush hour traffic. Dozens of cars plunged into the icy Ohio River. The sound of sirens filled the air as emergency vehicles raced to the scene. Mary's heart sank as she realized the horrifying connection. In the weeks leading up to the disaster, Mothman sightings had spiked. She'd even had vivid dreams of people drowning, their Christmas presents floating in some kind of dark water. As the death toll rose to 46, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that they'd missed some crucial warning. The Mothman, the UFOs, the strange men in black, had it all been leading to this moment? In the days that followed, more connections emerged. Witnesses reported seeing strange lights in the sky near the bridge just before it fell. Others swore that they'd heard an unearthly screeching sound moments before the collapse. Mary interviewed survivors, her hand shaking as she took notes. One man, his eyes distant with shock, described seeing a large winged creature fly over his car just as he crossed over onto the solid ground. Seconds later, the bridge gave way behind him. The tragedy marked the end of the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant. It was as if the creature's purpose, whatever it might have been, was fulfilled. But for Mary and the residents of the town, the mystery only deepened. The Mothman legend, with its eerie encounters, UFO sightings, and mysterious men in black, continues to captivate us decades later. Point Pleasant's brush with the unknown transformed a quiet town into a hub of paranormal intrigue. The Silver Bridge tragedy only deepened the mystery, leaving us to wonder, was the Mothman simply a harbinger of doom, or the cause of it? These events force us to question the nature of reality itself. What lies beyond our understanding? Are these forces at work here beyond what we can comprehend? The Mothman story isn't just about a strange creature. It's about our eternal fascination with the mysterious and the unknown. As one researcher put it, the Mothman story isn't just an isolated myth. It's a vibrant chapter in the broader narrative of American mythology, and its enduring fascination with the unexplained. So the next time you're driving on a dark, lonely road, keep your eyes open and a prayer on your lips. You never know what might be watching from the shadows.